you ask them later. All right, we are live and alive. That's right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for standing up. Fantastic. So, last week we spoke about Shabbos. We can go with Sabbath or Shabbat, as you please. I'm comfortable with Shabbos. It's part of my heritage. It's where I'm from. So, when I say Shabbos, it also brings me back to my childhood. I think the only way people could understand in San Francisco what I mean when I say Shabbos is thinking of a chef telling you that you want to eat a dish and take you back to your childhood. Like, that's what I think of. When I think of Shabbos, it immediately brings up all of my childhood Shabbos experience about what that was like and what I got out of it. And that's kind of what last week's discussion was about, was kind of an introduction into the topic of Shabbos, was how do I appreciate it on many different levels. True, it's just a day of rest, and having a day of rest is lucrative because you're able to store time and space in order to really rejuvenate oneself. And there's the benefits of mental and physical recuperation. And of course, the time it could be used to delve deeper. And last week we went as far as saying, we were as bold as to say that Shabbos, you could even have a closer connection to God, as simply a day of rest is not a day to take off, but it was built as a day to be you. Because the highest level of Shabbos is really that the first 6 days were built. They have to be designed. So inherently, it'll always have that worker inspiration behind it. Whereas Shabbos has no work even behind it. No matter how many layers you peel away from Shabbos, it's always going to be you. So we need to take the conversation to go a little bit deeper into you and into Shabbos. And I think the next step of learning about Shabbos is not that it exists, but the next step is how to prepare for it. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight, how to prepare for Shabbos. And that's why we're going to call it the gift you prepare, you get ready, you give yourself. Because a gift you give yourself is not like I bumped into something, I go, wow, I gave myself a gift. If you give yourself a gift, you usually prepare for it, set aside time for it, what people call me time, right? You have to make the time for that. You have to be in charge of that. So that's what preparation for Shabbos is about, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. All right? And any questions or comments, feel free to post. And of course, we'll have some live, but we're definitely looking to engage. So how do you appreciate your time off, and how you appreciate your Shabbos is not just about the work you did before, that you're tired and you physically need time off, that you need a vacation because of work. For example, I'm leading a trip to Israel. I'm going to put in a plug right here. Leading a trip to Israel this July 4th through Mayanot for our community, tech-related community, and it's going to be a 7-day trip over July 4th weekend. You could register at mayanotisrael.com/register. Plug. And every day on that trip, I start off the day with a meditation. Right as we get on the bus, the first thing I do is do a meditation, because besides that, it's for Jewish tradition to have this meditation. For me, it's also, if you can meditate in the morning on what the day is going to be like, chances are you'll have a very beautiful and successful day. Another example would be, in Jewish tradition, 30 days before any given holiday, we learn and start preparing for the holiday. So part and parcel of being Jewish, and hopefully in all cultures it's that way, but definitely being Jewish, is preparation has everything to do with the experience you have. And this idea is not, unfortunately, implemented for a lot of people. Most people, they have great anticipation, but anticipation is not preparation. Preparation is you do something real. So for example, when you want to connect with somebody else and you're preparing for a meeting with them, you have to think about who that person is and what the meeting's supposed to be like. You prepare for it, simply put. So how does one prepare for Shabbos? What is preparation for Shabbos about, and how does that help? See, Shabbos and this concept of a 24-hour period that we're building up to, what it is and how to get involved in it, Shabbos is more essential than any holiday or any trip. We believe that this is a euphoric experience. But it doesn't just happen because it exists. It takes a certain amount of prep. It's very easy to undervalue gifts as well. When we spoke about Shabbos as a gift, it's also very easy to undervalue a gift. So how do you value a gift? After all, isn't your health a gift? You don't control everything in your health. Isn't your prosperity a gift? You don't control everything that happens to you. So preparing for Shabbos is learning, in essence, how to value something that's given to you, how to value the things that are presented to you. Now let's take ourselves back to a largest part of Jewish history is the 2,000 years of basically shtetl life. We call it post-Second Temple era till modern day America. For Jewish people all over the world, it is an overwhelmingly depressing narrative. There are great luminaries, there are great opinions and political works that Jewish people contribute to. Amazing things happen because of Jewish people. That's true. But over the long span of things, life, the quality of life is miserable. So Shabbos wasn't just a day of rest. Shabbos was a way to transcend all challenges. And one of the people to me that really talks about this juxtaposition of being Jewish today versus what it was is the late Elie Wiesel. And I wanted to begin with an introduction to what preparation of Shabbos and the shtetl looked like. So I'm going to read for you a little piece. It's from a book called Wise Men and Their Tales by Elie Wiesel. And he writes like this: one can never speak enough of what Shabbos was like in the shtetl, or what it did for us inhabitants. Shabbat helped the people endure the other 6 days of the week, often gray and dark, heavy with sorrow and anxiety. Hence the waiting for Shabbos, which actually began much earlier. Thursday evening or even Friday morning, the housewife would already be busy preparing the challah, gefilte fish, the cholent, the traditional elements of a Shabbat meal in the shtetl, the white tablecloth, the white shirt. Everything had to be ready, and everything was the housewife's responsibility. One easily forgets that we owe the gift of Shabbos to the queen of the home, the Shabbos Malka, the Shabbos queen. We couldn't wait for her arrival. In the stores, businesses were conducted with haste. Sellers and customers were equally in a hurry to go home. Men would go to the ritual bath, the mikveh, then dress and prepare to be worthy of welcoming the Shabbat already on the horizon. The first to spot her would be the beadle, the shamash. He would go around stores and shout, Yidden, greit sich zu Shabbos, Jews, ready yourself for the Shabbos. Or on variations on the same thing, Yidden, es ist bald Shabbos auf der Welt. Jews, it's almost Shabbos in the world. To me, I think about the hustle and bustle of the shtetl, even growing up in Brooklyn, seeing everybody run up and down the streets getting ready. It's maybe the most nostalgic part of my life that I kind of miss out here is that hustle for Shabbos. The closest thing is Thanksgiving here, when everybody's hustling to get food because the stores will be closed for 24 hours. And in reality, every Friday is Thanksgiving for us. So think about the simple preparation of Thanksgiving and think about that for Shabbos. Not because of how difficult it is, because how exciting it is. I guess you have to pick out your best Thanksgiving dinner in order for it to completely narrate properly. And then the best preparation and put them all together and really realize that the preparation is what makes it so special. The methodology, the use, because what it does is it infuses all the days before with unlimited amount. But as Elie Wiesel is saying, it becomes the center of your week. That's really what he's saying in his words. It becomes the center of the week. So think about it. What we're psychologically saying is that the weekday is 6 days work. That's a 6-day weekday, or in our country, a 5-day. So we have 2 days to focus on who we are, and then 1 day to create that parallel between ourselves and our Creator. That's what Shabbos is about. How will we create the parallel between us and that Creator? So does Shabbos take off time from the week, or does the week really center around Shabbos? For me, Shabbos is called the Shabbos necessities of life. For me, it really is how my life grows through that cycle. There is a famous parable, and if it wasn't famous before I said it, well, now you'll know, so you're in. And it's basically where there's a gentleman who works for a construction company for many years, and he's retiring, and he comes to his boss, and he says, I'm retiring next week. And he says, well, could you stay on a little longer? I'd like you to build one last house. So he says, all right, but he really wants to retire, so he builds the house as quickly as possible. When he's done building the house, he comes in, he says, I'm retiring now. And the guy gives him a key, and he says, your retirement gift is the house you built. Now, the parallel to that is what you put work into ultimately is what you get out of life. So maybe last week we spoke about Shabbos as a gift to us, but in reality it's also the gift that we give ourselves, hence the title of the class. The above idea is actually, this concept is all expressed in a very simple line in the Talmud, and the line is, one who prepares for Shabbos will eat on Shabbos. So they ask right away, the sages ask, what kind of line is that? Of course, if you can't make food on Shabbat, as we'll talk about in classes to come, then the only way you have food is if you prepare. But of course, that's not what they meant, as they answered, what you sow is what you reap. Shabbos ultimately has an incredible depth, but it's only going to be the amount that you apply yourself that you're going to get out of it. And that's the next level up in Shabbos. How much do I apply myself to it? It's true here at Zehut, we try to create the opportunity for you to come and just be here, because that's the first thing. That was last week. It's a gift. You should come and take part. But the second step up is you got to also prepare to make it in your home one day. Take insight. What's going on? What we're putting together? What's the little nuances of putting the dinner together? As you know, myself and my wife Miriam have nothing but admiration for questions. That's the only way we can do our gig, is you available to that. So we want to talk more about Shabbos. And when the Jewish people left Egypt, they got food from heaven. And on Friday, they got double portion. Some say that's even the reason for having 2 challahs on Friday night. The reason why we have 2, because we got double portion from the desert. But that's not the reason for tonight. The reason tonight that there was double on Friday was so that the people should put in double the effort in collecting on Friday. Because once again, the effort is what makes the difference for Shabbos. You work during the week in order to feel yourself. You take a week vacation, sometimes Shabbos, you're hard to dig deep. But of course, if you recognize the weekday as my external reality and Shabbat as my internal value, that all changes. Now it matters what my external reality is involved in, the more my internal value lets me know if I'm investing myself in the right place. One of the ways that you would see preparing in the Talmud is all the sages would have their hallmark thing. One guy would come home and help his wife cooking. One would help the house get cleaned. They used to talk about these a lot. Like, I may be a great sage, but if I don't prepare for Shabbos, the rules apply to me too. The great sage Shammai would every day walk through the market and say, that's a great piece of meat for Shabbos. And every day he would try to outdo the day before. Maybe this may let him eat meat every day, but it also allowed him to think of every day as Shabbos, which I find pretty amazing, because in the Torah, there's no days of the week. There's no names. There's no application to a day of the week. It's called first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day. Shabbos is the only one with a name. Because during the week, all that matters is your title. On Shabbos, all that matters is your name, who you are. So in order to get that, in order for that transformation to happen, it takes effort to figure out who you are all the way. Otherwise, you spend Shabbos trying to figure out who are you. And we want to get past that too. We want you to be able to go beyond that as well. The best application for that, since my community is a community of people who very much are dating or involved in dating life, so I like to use dating as an example for specifically what we mean by preparing. Several months ago, I finished learning with somebody, and it was like 11 p.m. And I bumped into a couple of gentlemen in my community, and they had just come back from a date. So we were talking about dating. They both said they were looking to get married, and they're having a hard time. And the truth is, they're not the only two who've been telling me that in this city. A lot of people get dating easily, but marriage is hard to come by. It just doesn't always fit in the environment we live in. So I'm telling them what I'm going to tell you tonight, and something that we say at Zehut all the time is the first thing you need to do is ask yourself, are you being the best version of yourself? Maybe you're not attracting your mate because you're not being the best version of yourself. So on Shabbos, it's important on a weekly basis to prepare to be the best version of yourself so that you can attract that energy back, so you can actually get what you're supposed to out of this day of rest.
Be a plug for the singles cooking class tomorrow night.
Are you looking for more people? There's more slots?
There's a slot for one guy.
We have a slot for one guy for our singles cooking class, a court parfait. Look it up, fellas, tomorrow. The plugs were supposed to be in the beginning. No, it's
Yeah.
fine. So being the best version of yourself is the first parallel for what Shabbos is. The second thing is, do you really want to get married? If you want to get married, I'm going to be very sincere with you. Before you go out on a date, look in the mirror, look at yourself. Not to see how good you look great. And say something simple. Say to yourself, I am going out right now to find somebody to spend the next infinity with. Say that to yourself. See how that feels. Get used to the idea that you could spend your whole life with this one person. That such a beautiful thing can happen that night. Because if you don't mentally think about it and prepare for it, it's never going to happen. It's not I'm going to date for a while and see maybe it's possible. Are you really available for it or not? Are you really going to attract that to you? Shabbos is the same thing. We call Shabbos feminine energy. Why do we call Shabbos feminine energy? Because all of creation is feminine. Men, woman, everything created is feminine energy. Because feminine energy is, I am a receiver and now I have to decide what to do with it. So everything is feminine. So men built in masculine energy have a higher complex. So Shabbos, they have more, quote, prayer services involved. But it doesn't change that the part of Shabbos that matters is that we all have to receive it. And the only way to receive something is prepare for it. And therefore, everybody should find a way to prepare for this moment and think about the type of version of themselves that they're putting out there. So to me, Friday night, even though I'm with a lot of people, Shabbos is really ultimately a date night with myself. Because the only way I'm going to have meaningful time with everybody that comes there is if before Shabbos I'm like, all these amazing people are coming here. Am I really going to connect with so many people? I better be the best version of myself. So I'm sorry for talking about me so much, but this is a weekly routine for me, and I have nothing to hide. I can share it with you. And this is something that I think brings anticipation as well. When you start preparing your mind for these type of moments, you don't just have that great moment, you start anticipating great moments. The anticipation for Shabbos, that's the real excitement about what we're talking about tonight. Because when you anticipate good things, it changes all the days before. When you know you're going to meet a great person in a couple days, changes those couple of days. So what we're really trying to get to is the anticipation of Shabbos to start infusing your Friday and in your Thursday. And if you really get what's going on, you can get your whole week the anticipation of the day where you get to elevate the game of yourself and the people you meet. And more importantly, have an opportunity to really connect with the divine energy that sustains us all. So if there's any questions or comments, we can answer them. Huh?
There were actually. Alison Peck said that I remember that meditation and I loved it from Israel.
Thank you, Alison.
Shechel Esmond says
Shabbos Kodesh.
That was good.
Shabbos
Okay.
Kodesh. And Jacques.
Shalom.
Thank you.
No question.
How about you?
So we have, usually we have this routine before Shabbos when I'm trying to prepare everything and make it perfect. And Igor is always don't be so hyped, it's better to enter Shabbat in more relaxed mode rather than me trying to make it all perfect and then
In the last moment.
Yeah.
So Igor, because you're here and you're part of the story, so I'm just going to direct straight at you. First, you have to find out if she likes the way you calm her down before Shabbos. Then you could say, that's my contribution. She wants me to bring the calm with her. Or you have to find a better prep for yourself to be a part of Shabbos, to bring that in. Because, one way or the other, you're either being of help or you're not. You got to find that out. If not, we got to get you a pre-Shabbos ritual, a job, Whenever, it's interesting you bring this up. to get the kids ready for Shabbos as they get older, we have to give them little gigs. You know, you got to fill up the water. You got to for the kettle.
So,
right? She gives you the gigs. Okay,
you know,
you all need
I
little
don't tell her-
things.
So I don't tell her that she needs to calm down.
You know, I'm getting a memory now in my mind of being with my grandfather, and before Shabbos he would shine his shoes. And in my house, my dad would shine our shoes. I don't know if anybody shines their shoes anymore, but that was like a thing. Before Shabbos, we'd shine our shoes. Some other stuff. So it's all about the
But
prep.
I relate to their question, is you go into a lot of homes and Erev Shabbos specifically, there's a lot of anxiety going on and people are like in a rush.
Yeah.
Well, there's two answers. Answer number one is start earlier, start Thursday night. Like make Shabbos even more in your week. That's one answer. The other answer is how many times in life do you have unbelievably wild things going on all at once, having to be a part of several different conversations and things? You have these moments. And if it's not so scary because ultimately you know you're going to get it done and Shabbos is going to happen and everything's going to work out and you have countless Shabboses under your belt of things that happen, you become somebody who knows how to handle chaos and goodness. So you have two options. Option one is start earlier and you know, elongate the preparation so it's not like that, you know. Or the second thing is, and that would include get more people to come help, involve more help into it. If you can't handle the chaos, then bring the calm. But if you can and you deal with it, then look at it as a plus. Because one thing is certain, the more you do it, the more you expand your capacity to prepare. People once a year do Thanksgiving, they're so wiped out, they can't handle it till next year. You do Shabbos, you're like ready for next week. There's something so unique about that. It's easy for me to say, but I'll continue trying to help more. If this was a public announcement, I'm right in on it. You got attention. Message
You do always
message
say
received.
let's start on Thursday.
Message received. Message received.
But is the overall goal is trying to have some, you know, time of preparation on the Shabbos? Like, is there actually like, is the goal to have some time before?
I think the earlier you're finished preparation, the earlier you could just take in Shabbos. I think the goal is to be able to actually start living Shabbos earlier. Start being able to get into reading and studying and conversing and make your dinner earlier and it lasts longer, bring more people in. I think the goal of Shabbos on a weekly basis is to expand the reach of it in your life. I do. Like, if you have a moment, you ever have a moment with yourself and you're like, wow, you know, I know there's goodness in me and even greatness in me and I have more to give and I have so much potential. I think everybody has that moment. But what do they do with that moment? Do they actually use that moment to expand themselves? I think Shabbos gives you that opportunity to have that moment week to week, and then you have that opportunity to expand that, to elastate that message for yourself. It is a personal date night. It really is what it is. It's, even if it's surrounded by people, it's what version of myself shows up at this occasion, at this day, at this moment. And to me, that's the anticipation that we're hoping for. In 16th century Tzfat is a magical little town, one of my favorite little pockets in Jewish history. And in one little town of just a few hundred people, there are some of the greatest minds of all of Jewish history. It's pretty amazing, just all sitting together in one little town, everybody getting along in harmony. Sephardic, Ashkenazic, Talmudist, Kabbalist, they're all just sitting there all together, loving life and living in their little bubble. And they write the codex of Jewish law that we use till today. They write Kabbalistic messages that set the tone for the whole Hasidic movement till today. Anything you could imagine of Judaism today happens kind of out of that town. And it's no surprise to me, at least, that that's why they changed Shabbos. See, till the 16th century Kabbalists, from the Second Temple, every year was a little loss of the original Shabbos glory. It became more about the food, at best, than it was about what we're getting out of Shabbos, because life, as we said, was challenging. Hence, Elie Wiesel has such nostalgia that the only bright moment was Shabbos. But when your only bright moment is Shabbos, you're just always trying to just keep up. And the Kabbalists of Tzfat realized that there's got to be more than just keeping up with Shabbos. There's got to be something more. And all of a sudden showed up this gentleman named the Arizal, the Ari HaKadosh, the Holy Ari, and he said, we got to take Shabbos back to the way it was in the times of the temple. They're like, well, what's that? Sacrifices? He's like, no. It's much simpler than that. We got to greet Shabbos. We got to get ready so we can greet it. And they said, well, what's that? What's greeting Shabbos? He said, well, usually the reason why prayer is very, very short at nighttime is so that people shouldn't get stuck in the synagogue at night. Come, do a little prayer, and go home. But Friday night, we should make it long and beautiful and song and just add joy. See, so much of Judaism was oppressed. They stripped it of song. There was no, imagine Simchas Torah, there was no dancing. They would say the lines, walk in a circle, and move on. Imagine Friday night with no singing. Didn't exist. Synagogues had no singing. Come, say the prayers, move on in life. He said, we got to add song. And one of my favorite things is that little moment right there, today, there's no denomination of Judaism that doesn't have singing Friday night. And it all started from this one moment in Kabbalist Tzfat, 16th century Tzfat with the Arizal. And his students and the people there are so excited about it. They basically spend the rest of their life learning, teaching, and developing Friday night liturgy. So whereas midway point of today's davening was the beginning of the prayers Friday night back then, they added 6 psalms representing the 6 days of the week. So it should all be about bringing in all the best parts of myself that I used over the week into Friday night. And then after the 6 psalms, they sang a special song, the Lichadodi, which is basically greeting the Shabbos energy, the feminine energy of Shabbos, and bringing it into them. Lichadodi has the acronym in it of its master poet, Shlomo Alkabatz. You could see his name written in it, Shlomo Halevi. And this song was developed with this idea of bringing in the week and the anticipation of Shabbos. And the last part of the song, Boi B'Shalom, we actually turn around west. And its physical idea of looking back at the week that was. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And the idea is that we're actually looking back, physically turning ourselves and thinking back to what we were last week and realizing how much we've grown and how much more there is to do in the week ahead. So I thought maybe we'd end tonight with a little bit of Lechadodi, and that's right.
Yay!
Lechadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Have a good week, everyone. Look forward to seeing you next week.